What's good, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Mikey Raider. I haven't given you guys a video in probably 4 or 5 days. My apologies. I've been working on my other channel and doing some other things. Plus, your boy, Mikey Raider, gets depressed. He gets unhealthy, and he disappears. But more importantly, let's talk about a little bit of Raider news. And I do expect a live stream this week. So please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of this channel for exclusive and early content that will be implemented ASAP, definitely before the season starts. And that's a way to support me. I do have donation portals down below because Lord knows I could always use any help from you guys. Hopefully I earned it by today's video or by any video that I've done. And for the ones that have always been ride or die, let's go. Let's quickly talk about a little bit of Raider news that has been circulating, and this is a little more of a drama nature or a he said what type of nature, and then we're going to get into some position reviews in the next couple days as well. But just to keep you up to date, I don't know everything that's going on. I'm not on Twitter or X every single day of my life, and I don't really know all the storylines behind the scenes, but I do know the Raiders were having a mini camp. And I was able to watch Antonio Pierce's press conference. I should have done that live with you guys. And some of the other players had press conferences like Bowers and Powers. And let's just quickly talk about some of the things that I saw from those interviews or those press clippings that, you know, kind of either caused turmoil or whatever the case is, and give you my perspective. First off, let's talk about controversy after the NFL draft that arose. I forgot the cornerback's name, but there was a cornerback that was drafted, I believe, by the, forgive me, I think his name is Addison or Adderin. I don't know. Guys, I'm so sorry. But there, you guys can look, you probably know more about it than I do. But there was a cornerback that was talked to by the Raiders because they had him in their sights in case their draft pick didn't pan out in the first round. There was a cornerback, and then he did a podcast. I think he was drafted by the Vikings or somebody. I may be wrong. But he was drafted by this team, and he did a podcast with somebody. You guys can watch the video on Wi-Fi Willie's channel to get the lowdown rundown, Wi-Fi Willie on YouTube. He has all the clips and everything. But he spoke about that the Raiders called him. Well, he was possibly going to be drafted by the Raiders. They were looking at that cornerback. Then, during the draft, the Raiders at number 13 took Bowers, the tight end. Maybe this cornerback was thinking the Raiders were going to take him, and he was shocked that they took Bowers. But apparently, according to this cornerback, is it Adderley? God, I'm sorry. But apparently to this cornerback on the podcast, he said that the Raiders called him after they drafted Bowers and basically like apologized for not taking him because maybe they had many meetings with him and they were going to, you know, he was on their radar. And they called him and they said, hey, man, you know, like it was basically a coin flip between you and Bowers, the tight end. No hard feelings or whatever. So he revealed this on the podcast. And then that went viral to Raider Nation and other people. And the people are like, what? The Raiders did a coin flip for their draft pick, you know, because Antonio Pierce is a new coach. You know, so they're like, and Tom Telesco is a new GM for the Raiders. And they always have to have something negative to say about our Raiders. So now the media is like, the Raiders, you know, made their draft pick with a coin. They did a coin flip between Bowers and this cornerback. Oh, the Raiders don't know what they're doing. They made a coin flip, you know, like to make us look bad in a negative fashion. And that pisses me off. Okay, so the controversy got a little bit bigger. People were talking about it. Now Antonio Pierce had his first press conference. Antonio Pierce was asked the question, or some sort of the question on an earlier podcast. So somewhere between the time frame of the draft and after this cornerbacks podcast, Antonio Pierce did a podcast as well and was asked the same question and said that there was no phone call. He said, no, there was no phone call to this player. There was no phone call. Then also Tom Teleshko did an NFL Network interview where he was also brought aware of this question, and then he made a joke. He goes, oh, maybe I need to pull out my coin. Or are we talking about the coin flip? Like making a sarcastic joke at the notion that Antonio Pierce or the Raiders or Tom Teleshko literally flipped the damn coin, to draft Bowers over this cornerback. So all of these stuff came from the media talking about it, making fun of the Raiders. And then Antonio Pierce finally went in front of the Raiders media after these podcasts and all these innuendos and saying there was no phone call and stuff like that. Then he was asked by the Raiders journalist, do you have any, update or storyline to commiserate the flipping a coin story that you called or you did not call this cornerback? And then he goes, I'm only here to talk about Raiders. Okay, great. Great response, Antonio Pierce. I get it. Great response. But here's where that problem lies. That means he was told not to say anything, and any response he would have given would have either been calling the cornerback a liar or would have brought down more scrutiny on him for records or phone details or bring back more scrutiny on Tom Teleshko to prove receipts or whatever. It's just blowing up. The fire is building for this ridiculous story. Is the cornerback lying? Why would he have a reason to say that the Raiders called him and said it was a coin flip? What does he gain by pissing off or telling a story, to begin his career post NFL draft? What does he have to gain about lying? So is he lying? People might just say, yeah, he's lying. He's lying. But then Antonio Pierce said on a podcast, there was no phone call. Maybe Antonio Pierce is denying because it makes him look weak. But we all know, and again, this is now speculation on my part on what possibly happened. I am a theorist. I like to figure out the truth, and I like to read between the lines. Let's be honest. I have no clue if it really happened or it didn't. I'm only speculating from my perspective and what I've seen from Antonio Pierce and the way that they run the teams and they run themselves. Antonio Pierce called this cornerback. That's my perspective. He did do it. The cornerback is not lying. But Antonio Pierce did it with goodness in his heart because he was looking after that cornerback. Antonio Pierce is a defensive coach, and he wanted that cornerback. He probably had plenty of interactions with him, and he's like, man, you're going to be our guy, dude. If a couple of the other players are not there, man, we want you. We want you. He probably had meetings with this cornerback and hyping him up. That's why the cornerback felt some sort of way and mentioned it on the podcast. But I feel Antonio Pierce made this phone call because he's a genuine good dude. You know how they always want to tell quarterbacks that they're drafting a quarterback? Oh, you need to tell that quarterback you're going to draft a quarterback, so they have an awareness of what's going to happen or, so that you don't hurt their feelings. Well, Antonio Pierce is a defensive coach. I guarantee you he wanted this cornerback. He thought that cornerback might be the option. But then Brock Bowers, that special tight end, was there. And then Antonio Pierce is like, damn, we got to get Bowers. We just got to. It's that type of, talent at the offensive side of the ball. And then he started to feel bad about not drafting the cornerback. So maybe after the draft ended, later on day one or whenever, he gave that cornerback a call out of the goodness of his heart. And he's like, man, he didn't want to tell him we had to go with Bowers because that wouldn't make him look like the second choice. I would have preferred if Antonio Pierce did tell this cornerback that. But I believe Antonio Pierce called him out of goodness in his heart and said, hey, man, we wanted you so bad. I know we had a lot of meetings. It was like a coin flip, man. Honestly, we were in the room. It was a coin flip. It's like Bowers or you, Bowers or you. And, it was a coin flip. It was a bad phrasing of the word. But he said it gently, not thinking that that would have been said by that cornerback on a podcast. So then he's like, I can deny it. The guy's not going to be a member of our team for 5 years. He's probably going to be on the other team. This might mess up our relationship in the future, but he already messed up the relationship by talking about unspoken things on a podcast. So Antonio Pierce does his podcast, and now Antonio Pierce says, yeah, there's no phone call. There was no phone call because it makes him look weak. In general, when you look at, even though he probably made the phone call out of the goodness of his heart, it's kind of like you're apologizing for not drafting somebody. And that can make some people look weak. Antonio Pierce is a people person. Outwardly, publicly, he looks like a strong human being. So for that information to get out, if Antonio Pierce would admit it, he would look weak. So he has to not admit it on the podcast and not care about what that player thinks or if he's going to work with that player again in the future. So he has to say, yeah, there was no phone call. That's a dead story. When I truthfully think he did it, but meaning well. But then again, they came to him after he said, I didn't make a phone call. Then now people want to find out who's lying. Now he's being questioned. Is Antonio Pierce a liar? Or is he now calling the cornerback a liar? You get it? Now it becomes a beef category of you're the liar. No, you're the liar. And they didn't want that. So the Raiders brass or GMs or whoever, they probably know the truth. But they said, Antonio, no more talking about it. If anybody asks it, question about it, let's make it a joke. Let's move along. Don't even talk about it. Nothing from your perspective. So that's what he did in the press conference. He said, I only talk about Raiders. Basically, that cornerback is dead to me. I'm sorry that relationship got ruined by these decisions, but that's how it has to be. And then Tom Telesco makes, hey, you mean a coin flip? Because he was trying to save his reputation and Antonio Pierce's reputation by on the NFL Network or whatever saying, yeah, let's make it a coin flip. Ha, ha, ha. So to kind of save their reputations of looking weak or stupid. So did this officially finish it? Only time will tell. But that being said, and this is no hatred toward Antonio Pierce or the Raiders, I kind of feel like I have a good pulse of this team and their characters, and I believe Antonio Pierce did make that phone call out of the goodness of his heart, and he said some ridiculous words, didn't think it through publicly, and, he made a little bit of a mistake doing that. And then, the damn cornerback revealed it, so now they have to do damage control. That's just my opinion. That's my speculation. That's from my point of view. But I'm still a Raider through and through. And if they want to talk crap about this cornerback in the future, I'm okay with it. But now, Bowers and this cornerback, I hope they meet up in a game and they have beef together, for Antonio Pierce's pride. So it's going to be an interesting storyline, to say the least. Let me know your thoughts down below. Am I wrong? Am I off base? Or how do you think it all played out? I'd really like to know, because I love your perspective as well, because we're all Raiders, whether we agree or not. I love you guys. I do, man. Raiders. Then, okay, so now let's talk about the press conferences from Antonio Pierce. He had a lot of good quotes in it, and he did his Antonio Pierce thing, his swag thing, his strength thing, and I'm all in, man. I love every minute of it. They talked a little bit about the quarterbacks. Tom Telesco did as well, and they said both quarterbacks are basically going to have an opportunity to compete. But Antonio Pierce was also said Aiden O'Connell was mentioned to get the first rep in training camp with the ones. That was the statement that came out, that Aiden O'Connell will get the first rep that he earned it based off of last year in training camp on day one. Well, what about the second rep? What about the third? It doesn't mean he's the starter going into camp. But it does mean that, they're trying to show him some pride and make him feel good that he earned it by being a part of the Raiders last year that he now will get every opportunity and the first rep at training camp to be the starting quarterback. But it's still a competition, and I still say Gardner Minshew will edge out Aiden O'Connell. If he does not, man, that'll be an amazing Aiden O'Connell story for years to come. Now that he changed his number from 4 to 12, that if he won the job in camp, we found ourselves a good quarterback in the 4th round for the future. But there's still, he has a lot to learn, and let's see what happens. It's going to be a fun training camp. Hopefully you guys stay a part of this channel. Hopefully I can get you guys some opinions, maybe some video footage soon. I got to figure that all out with my computer problems and issues and copyright technology. I got to figure it out. Now, let's talk about Brock Bowers. Love him. Love everything he says, but he's a simple man. He's a simple man. He just talks simply. Yeah, I'm proud to be on his team. Looks real good. We're going to play a lot of 12 personnel. Apparently, they're going to play a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends for Brock Bowers. So that going into it sounds really good. Then let's just talk about Jackson Powers Johnson. In the scouting combine, before he was drafted by the Raiders, he knocked down a staff member of the scouting combine in video while he was doing his blocking techniques and pushing techniques, and he knocked a staff member down in one of the drills. Now, that was awesome to watch, and that shows his power, his pride, his strength, everything. And his story is good. He's a man amongst boys, and he's a leader. He has strength and everything, and I love everything I'm seeing from him. I love the Bowers and Powers duo that we might have on this team. But apparently, in this minicamp, he did the same thing. Apparently, he knocked down one of the Raiders members or staff members or doing something in a drill. And, I mean, you can look at it 2 ways. That he's doing his thing. He's setting a tone on day 1 in minicamp or rookie minicamp. He's setting a tone. He wants everybody to know that he's going to go all out. He's going to go 120%, even in training camps and mini camps and all that. But it could also be like, well, you got to do it twice. Who are you trying to impress? It becomes a pattern, maybe for publicity. But again, I'm not going to worry about that. Mikey Raider overthinks everything. But I do like him. I appreciate him. And all the words he said in his press conference, forgive me, I don't know the official quotes, but he had some quote that he said like, the name on the chest will represent the name on the back, or something to that effect. But it was a great quote. Please forgive me, guys. I need to do better research, but I've been filming 7 videos all in one time because it's the only time I got available for the next week or the next few days. So I've been filming like 7 videos, and I should have wrote it all down. But he has quotes, man. This guy has heart. This guy has passion, and I'm so thrilled to have him a part of this team. And I'm looking forward to him making a name for himself and being a starting offensive lineman. And yeah, I like this dude a lot. And he has that Raider mentality, that Raider swag that the team has been looking for, especially under Antonio Pierce in this new regime. And it just feels right. It feels like he was a Raider from birth, or a Raider from sperm, or a Raider just in all ways. His family and all them are from Napa. Apparently they went to training camps in Napa when they had him there. And it's an interesting thing, to say the least. So even though I think he was a 49er fan or something growing up, we ain't going to hold it against him. Now, that being said, there are some rumors, speaking of training camps, that maybe not this year, but that the Raiders might take it to another location. Even though they got a training camp facility in Henderson or by the stadium, there are rumors that the Raiders are going to take their training on the road again. I don't know if it'll be back in Napa or if they're going to come back to like LA or Ontario like they did back in the days, Or was it the Cowboys when they had scrimmages? Not quite sure. But there's some kind of rumors and rumbling that that's going on. And I just thought that was interesting to talk about. But as far as Raider news, not much is happening. I'm sure there's more press conferences and stuff I can watch and more things on Twitter I could see. But other than that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed my opinions and my thoughts on this little bit of Raider news that we got going. And I do want to bring back the Raiders Roundtable. I just haven't had a computer working and a lot of other issues that go along with it. But I promise you guys, it's coming back. It's coming back. I just got to get some guests and some people that want to be a part of it, because the Raiders Roundtable will return, and it'll definitely return before July. Okay? So please stay tuned to this channel for more content. If you enjoyed everything, give me a like, give me a subscribe. If there's anything I missed that you want to hear me talk about, let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully I'll get to it. And if you stayed this long, on the bottom, I want you to write Bauer Powers for life. All right, guys. I appreciate you. I love you. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay Raider, stay blessed. And I'll see you on the next video.